Iran's Muslim unity stun as US ally expands Islamic NATO with Mecca Pact? IRGC fires back at Mecca defense deal as Iran calls for greater Muslim unity. Mecca defense pact sparks Tehran response as Iran pushes for true brotherhood among Muslims. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan join hands as IRGC urges Muslims to stand united. Iran answers new Mecca alliance with a vow to rely only on ourselves amid rising tensions. Tehran calls for Muslim unity as IRGC hails Iran's military strength after the war. Iran renews unity call as a former official proposes joining the Islamic NATO against Israel. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded to the new Mecca defense agreement by calling for greater unity among Muslim nations. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan signed the defense pact in Mecca as regional tensions and security threats continue to rise. The agreement commits Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan to treating an armed attack against one member as an attack against all three. Araghchi said Iran's armed forces demonstrated their readiness, military capability, and strength during the recent war. Abbas Araghchi said, and I quote, "Iran's powerful armed forces have shown their readiness, capability, and might in the face of the world's most expensive military. When Muslims stand together, we can face every challenge by malicious outsiders head-on. Time to rely only on ourselves and embrace true brotherhood," unquote. Former Iranian spokesman Abdollah Ramazanzadeh separately urged Tehran to propose joining the newly signed Mecca defense agreement. Ramazanzadeh called for a broader regional security arrangement that would unite Muslim countries while excluding Israel from the proposed framework. Abdollah Ramazanzadeh said, and I quote, "Iran should propose its accession to the Mecca agreement and welcome this agreement. Now is the time to propose a regional pact without Israel," unquote. The competing proposals come as Saudi Arabia faces growing security threats from Iran-aligned groups across the region and seeks stronger defense partnerships. Saudi Arabia moved quickly to calm Iran after Tehran openly mocked Riyadh's brand new three-way defense pact. On August 7th, Saudi Arabia clarified that this new defense pact carries absolutely no nuclear or hidden military agenda. Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister Raid Krimli stressed that this agreement poses no threat to any single country in the region. This landmark pact was formally signed by Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan, aiming to jointly build stronger defense capabilities together. Krimli further clarified that the agreement was never designed to function as a military axis or any kind of sectarian bloc. These Saudi remarks came directly after Iranian MP Ibrahim Razoui sharply criticized this newly signed defense agreement. Ibrahim Razoui, a member of Iran's Parliamentary National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, reacted on August 7 after Saudi Arabia signed the new defense agreement with Turkey and Pakistan in Mecca. Razoui posted his response on X, directly criticizing the newly signed Mecca Joint Deterrence Agreement and warning Riyadh not to mistake new partners for guaranteed protection. Ibrahim Razoui said, and I quote, "Saudis must know that a paper agreement with Turkey and Pakistan will not bring them security. Just as years of one-sided nursing to the Americans did not bring them security. Reform your policies so that you do not need to beg for security from others." End quote. Iran's warning comes at a time of growing security concerns for Saudi Arabia, as conflict in the Gulf and Red Sea increases the risks facing the kingdom's cities, infrastructure, and energy export routes. Earlier in the regional conflict, Iran launched attacks against Saudi-linked targets using drones and missiles, presenting them as retaliation against states it accused of facilitating U.S. military operations. Tehran has argued that any country providing territory, facilities, or practical support for U.S. action against Iran could be treated as part of the confrontation and therefore exposed to retaliation. While Iran has not recently claimed direct strikes against Saudi Arabia, Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement has continued attacks and threats against Saudi-linked vessels, ports, and oil infrastructure. The Houthis declared a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia after Saudi strikes on Houthi-held Yemen, saying Saudi-connected ships and vessels using Saudi Red Sea ports could be targeted. The Houthi blockade and wider Iran war have put Saudi oil export routes under major pressure, threatening to reduce flows through the Red Sea and creating new uncertainty for Riyadh's energy revenues and global markets. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan signed a mutual defense agreement in Mecca on August 7, bringing their leaders together amid heightened regional turmoil and security concerns across the Gulf. The pact unites three major Sunni Muslim powers that each retain important, though very different, relationships with the United States, combining Saudi financial influence, Turkish military-industrial capacity, and Pakistan's armed forces. Notably, none of the three states maintains full diplomatic relations with Israel, creating a rare security grouping of US-linked powers that remains politically separate from Washington's closest Middle Eastern partner. Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia signed the deal amid a widening Gulf crisis, with regional states facing attacks, threats, and growing uncertainty following the confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel. Turkey brings NATO's second-largest military by personnel. Saudi Arabia contributes immense Gulf influence and defense spending, while Pakistan adds a battle-tested military and the only nuclear arsenal in the Muslim world. Riyadh has been seeking to deepen security cooperation with key partners as it looks for stronger deterrence and more reliable regional arrangements beyond traditional dependence on Washington. At the same time, Saudi Arabia has raised alarm over growing regional threats from Iran-aligned groups, particularly as maritime, missile, and drone risks have increased across the Gulf and Red Sea. However, the full text and operational details of the agreement were not immediately released, leaving open major questions about joint command, deployment obligations, intelligence sharing, and the exact meaning of mutual defense. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan already signed a mutual defense pact in September 2025, stating that aggression against one country would be treated as an attack against both, making Turkey's inclusion a potentially major expansion. Pakistan has provided training, advisory support, and technical military assistance to Saudi Arabia for decades, creating an established defense relationship that the 2025 pact and new trilateral deal now deepen. Pakistan has reportedly deployed around 8,000 troops, a fighter squadron, drone units, and a Chinese-made HQ-9 air defense system to Saudi Arabia under its mutual defense arrangement with Riyadh. Turkey and Pakistan have built extensive defense ties through training, naval cooperation, aviation exchanges, weapons development, and joint exercises, giving the new framework a base of existing military interoperability. Saudi Arabia agreed to purchase Turkish Bayraktar drones in a deal described as Turkey's largest defense and aviation export contract, with technology transfer and joint production also included. Turkey's possible return to the F-35 program is another major development Israel will monitor, although Washington has not made a final decision and US law still requires Ankara to meet conditions related to its Russian S-400 system. The reported deal would open the door for Turkey to procure F-35A jets from the United States.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.